Hi. People have had some questions, I hear, about the clocks that you can add onto your machines, such as if you've got a broken Addy clock or you've got a machine that doesn't have a counter clock for counting your rows. Well, I didn't either, and this is a generic machine. They also had a few other names for them, but I've had this for a little while. It sounds really good. It does knit nicely. But the problem was I didn't have a counter for it. I'm terrible, really am, for forgetting how many rows I've done without the counter. It really makes a difference for people like me. And I needed one so I could use this machine because I was just forgetting how many rows I'd done and how many rows. And it's handy if you're going how many rows for that colour, and you can write it in your book as you go. So I'd heard about the counters. Some people have got clicky ones that click up and down like you had on the old bed knitting machines. And I'd seen those and played with those as a kid, so I knew what those were. But I'd also seen and heard about these new digital ones that Amazon was selling. Now, being over in New Zealand, Amazon's prices are a little bit steep over here, so I went on to eBay China, and I think it was something about maximum about 12 New Zealand dollars to get one of these and have it sent over. And the problem was I'd seen a lot of people take them and they'd attach the pieces inside that makes it count up, and they put the clock down on the floor. And that's not so good, because having to look down and up while you're working, it doesn't work for me. I wanted it where about the Addy clock was, which is about here, but because this has also a tension guider, which isn't on right now, but I take it off when I'm not using it. So it would get in the way of that. So I decided to position it to this side, because most of what I do is on my right hand, whether I'm taking stitches up or dropping them. If you're left-handed, it would be the opposite. Anyway, I bought one of these, and then I thought, oh, I've got to attach it. So I found this glue. It's like a super glue. It's this one here, Loctite Super Glue Perfect Pen. Now this is really good. It's like a thick cement glue, and what I did is I took this and I applied it to the biggest area I had for the back of the counter, and then I put as much on as I thought was reasonable, and I pushed it on and I held it for a couple of minutes, and then I put sellotape on to support the weight of it while it finished gluing over a few hours. I don't know how long they take, but I always give them a few hours or even overnight to make them really hard. So I did that, and then what I did is I worked out where the magnet, which is here, which goes, and the pen, which counts for you, were going to be positioned, and how best they would work. So once I'd worked those out, and I did it on the white stitch here, so I know exactly where the next row starts. And as you can see, when you go around, and when it hits that magnet, one, there you go, one, count one, two, there you go. So you see every time that magnet passes its little friend here, that's where it goes. So then I super glued that in place down here, and the magnet up here. Then I did this. I worked out exactly how much cable I would need, and then I chopped the cable. And then it's very easy. You put I had brown here, blue here, that's the colour of the outside of the wire, and the copper wire goes, just unscrew these, put the copper wire in, tighten them up. Easy as that. I put some, it's not brilliantly done, but I nail varnished it because I hated the black cable. That just makes it look really tacky. It needs another coat really. but I glued all that. I swear it's not going anywhere. That's tight, okay? So what you'll do is hopefully it will go over the top of that as it knits. When it gets to a certain length, you might just have to pop it over the top. I've got to test it out yet, but it pretty much works theoretically and as I've moved it around. So to me, it's well worth doing because I'm not a great person for remembering their rows. Also, it's got a pausability on it when you're going around. I don't think you really need that once and it clears the clock. Also, it's really easy to change your battery. Your basic battery here. And you pull that there. And there you go. And you can just replace it. It's really easy. I remember one lady said to me, make sure you remember where that you're putting the super glue so you don't glue your battery, and I thought, she's got a point. So anybody who's looking at a good clock counter for their machine, whether it be a generic, pyramid, anything that doesn't have a counter, or your Addi clock's gone down, I think it's a really good option.